The central government has always come into focus when there is chaos in the country, but the level of demand for accountability on the part of state governors has never been this loud. It appears Arewa groups are leading that charge by demanding more actions and accountability from northern governors. In the wake of the abduction and murder of the district head of Sabon in Sokoto State, Muhammad Bawa, by bandits, the Arewa Consultative Forum called for a more effective approach by the governors to combating banditry and terrorism in the region. Mikhail, just like the Northern Elders Forum has said, this is a stark manifestation of the chaos affecting northern part of Nigeria.
Yes, and this is a big problem. What we are seeing in the Northwest, the glaring capitulation of government at all levels to the power of banditry is something that we should really be ashamed of. And because the effort to tackle this menace was weak from the beginning, we have a situation on our hands that is becoming almost intractable. I was reading a story that Nigerian bandits crossed into Nigeria to also carry out some raids on people, on communities. In the past, our people used to even rely on Nigerian gendarmes when they raised an alarm about banditry and our own security forces are not forthcoming or extremely slow in responding. The Nigerian gendarmes will respond promptly and deal decisively with those outlaws. I've seen stories on some of the international broadcast media in Hausa language talking about the way the gendarmes sometimes come into Nigeria to help Nigerian communities, to help residents of Nigerian communities under attack from bandits. Now we are hearing that their own criminals are crossing into our country and carrying out raids. It shows that the situation has really degenerated. In Katsina, in Sokoto, in Zamfara, in Niger, in some parts of Kebbi, banditry, even Kaduna, although there is some improvement in Kaduna, especially in the Christian-dominated area. There is some improvement. Some people attribute it to the CDS, who is from Zango Kataf. I don't know what exactly is responsible for this, but there is improvement, and that is good to hear. But some governors have shown a clear lack of capacity to deal with these issues. And you see, a lack of capacity manifests in different ways. Look at what happened in Sokoto. The question to ask is, what efforts were made to rescue that district head, the district head of a small community in Sabon? It's not actually district head of Sabon. Sabon is the name of the local government, but it's a district head of, or it was a district of one of the small communities in that local government. Some have described him as Emir of Gobir, all kinds of things that are really not true. It's not. It wasn't an Emir, but whoever he was, he did not deserve to die in that way. And the reason it's painful to people was that these boys released a video in which the district head was bleeding on the chest, having been tortured. Then they were also flogging one of his relations. I don't know if that was the son. A clear lack of capacity manifests in different ways. You don't respond effectively to problems facing your state. What did the Sokoto governor do, for example? If he did anything to save the life of that district head, we didn't see any sign. No sign that he did anything. Or maybe his efforts were minimal and ineffective. But it underlines the fact that Nigeria's northwest is bursting at the seams with bandits. And it didn't start today. The previous administration made half-hearted attempts to exterminate these boys. And even the governors who came together, the northern governors from the northwest who came together, they didn't get enough support from the central government at that time, because they were worried and they felt, look, we needed a concerted effort to deal with this problem once and for all. Governors like Arewa at that time, Arewa, Aminu Bello Masari, they came together. But the central government didn't give them support. And we allowed this thing to fester. Now we are in a situation in which people can't go to their villages anymore. District heads have fled, especially in states like Katsina. District heads have fled their communities and moved to the state capital. Because to stay in your remote community is to invite bandits to take you away. On the outskirts of the state capitals of these northwest states, apart from Jigawa and Kano, the bulk of the northwest states, bandits are running riot. You look at a state like Kaduna with heavy presence of military formations, yet bandits still kidnap people at will. So there is a need for the governors of the northwest to come together and fashion out, by way of maybe something like an open hearing, where all shades of opinions can be harvested, and then they will come up with the right approach. For this problem having degenerated, one approach will never solve the problem. Okay. If we say, okay, the military approach, I favor the military approach, but I also think that side by side the military approach, we can also come up with other methods, other tactics that we can use to deal with this problem, because it's embarrassing.
But Bikio, what kind of message is this particular situation sending to northern governors and northern stakeholders? Because you're not the only one who has questioned the capacity of the Sokoto State governors. One of the northern groups called it lackadaisical.
Yes, that was why I said we didn't feel any sign on his part that he wanted to have the man rescued. We didn't feel it. We didn't feel, perhaps his best was not good enough. But the point that I'm making is, these governors, they go to Abuja, they've turned Abuja to their homes. They need to sit in their communities and solve their problems. Just as they say all politics is local. Look, the solution to this problem, in my view, is to call the people together. You cannot get the solution in Abuja. And I was happy when Professor Usman, the man who was at National Health Insurance, he said, look, believing that Tinubu will solve this problem for the North is foolhardy. We have to solve this problem ourselves. When people make such claims, such statements, to many people, it doesn't make any sense because all they wanted was for him to abuse Tinubu and say Tinubu is thoroughly incompetent. But this is a problem that he inherited. How come we had a president where bandits were running riot in 12 local governments in the states? President Buhari was there. 12, there was even a time when they attacked him on his way to Katsina. They attacked his convoy. Is that bad? On a particular market day, bandits killed almost 200 people. I remember that was the day that Goodluck Jonathan went to campaign in Katsina State ahead of the 2015 election. It was a market day. About 200 people were killed by bandits. So, how much longer can we continue? What are those governors doing? What are northern leaders, opinion molders, big people from the north, elderly people, people that their views count? What are they doing? Everyone needs, because my feeling is that this will degenerate. And if it degenerates, we won't be able to handle the situation. We have an opportunity now to do our best to nip this in the bud before it gets worse. If it gets worse, it could in fact be worse than Boko Haram. Boko Haram is being defeated now in the northeast. When was the last time Boko Haram attacked a military base? Before, they were attacking those military bases for fun, attacking even so-called super camps, and setting weapons ablaze. Today, they've lost the capacity to do that. A lot of them have even fled to the north central and northwest, operating now as bandits. Because it was Boko Haram that carried out the kidnap of those train passengers. Before, Boko Haram was limited to the northeast. In fact, limited to Borno State at some point. Today, elements of Boko Haram are in the northwest operating, carrying out raids, kidnapping students, kidnapping all kinds of people. And there appears to be no solution. So my feeling is the northern leaders, opinion molders, they must find a way, and under the auspices of these governors, realize that there is an emergency that needs to be dealt with. And they have to come up with ideas. When everyone comes together, everyone jumps in, the solution to this menace will come. But if we are thinking that Tinubu is the one who will solve the problem, and when things get worse there, you blame him, all right, then something is wrong. And that's why I said the same zeal, if not more, that some northern leaders used to chase political power. If they will exert that same energy on finding a solution to this menace of bandits, honestly, the solution is not far away. So show that same zeal with which you are using to gun for political power that you get, and ultimately the ordinary people in the north do not benefit from it. It benefits you, benefit members of your family. You steal and keep money for members of your family. They must remember that if this thing gets worse, even they too are not safe. They too are not safe.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Adewa, let me come to you. For how long shall these killings continue? One, because we know the level of respect Northerners have for their traditional institutions. And second, do you also nurse the fear of this degenerating? Justice Bikio.
Well, I think since 2009 that Mohammed Yusuf was killed, banditry, terrorism have continued to increase. I think it got worse under General Buhari. Unfortunately, a military general that we thought would be able to understand the problem better and be able to resolve the problem. But it got worse. And I think, it has consumed too many people that we should not have any excuse not to respond decisively. United Nations office in Abuja was bombed. Our Senator Dantong in Plateau State was killed by bandits. The House of Assembly minority leader also in Plateau was killed by bandits. At least 2 Major Generals that I know, Major General Shuab Mohammed from Borno State was killed by bandits. One other Major General Azan Ahmed.
Alkali.
So what are we talking? Rich men, traditional rulers, be shot dead. Do we want to wait until everybody is dead before? Even the president has been threatened. When Buhari was there, he was threatened by these bandits. They went into military barracks, attacked people there. So I think we have seen a stream of terrorism. That what is now lacking is, leadership to deal decisively with this problem. And I think in the north, there are 2 major threats that I see. The first one is internal threat, which has to do with the erosion of traditional and moral authority of the state itself. Okay. Traditional rulers no longer have any authority. And I think that is bad for the culture and heritage of the people. In the past, the Emirs were like mini-gods. Nobody will ever dare go and attack the son of an Emir. Not to talk of even kidnapping or killing a traditional ruler. But that is what we are seeing happening now. Then the internal threats, access to education, poverty, joblessness, hunger. No matter how much you try to deal with these problems, if you don't look at the root cause, years of misgovernance, ineptitude of leadership, corruption, people building houses in Dubai for years, and they don't care about the ordinary man on the street. So it will come to a point that you will not be able to control the anger and the desperation that will confront you from the masses. There is also a external threat, which has mentioned. The north is surrounded by volatile states, Chad, Mali, Burkina Faso, where there is constant insurgency that has been going on for the past 20 years. And then the Maghreb region, governance has almost collapsed, where people now have access to guns and are coming into Nigeria, to serve as mercenaries just for them to survive. But I think one of the major crises the North is facing, which they don't want to admit, is inter-ethnic conflict. For the first, the North used to be the same. Talk about Northern Arewa and all that. But that is now a myth. For the first time, you are seeing crisis between Fulani and Hausa people. And what we have seen is the emergence of arms race between these warring groups. People procuring arms in order to settle one, to seek for revenge. So the leaders need to come up. They have been having series almost every year. There have been northern summits. We speak English and all that. At the end of the day, in terms of practice, they are failed to address the fundamental problems. But I think what is, if you compare what is going on in Borno State, you will learn that where there is good governance, where there is leadership commitment, where there is investment in education and agriculture, you will be able to defeat insurgency to a large extent. And that's why you see that there's a paradigm shift in Borno State since the current governor came in, that insurgency, violence has reduced drastically. And I also think the northern leaders should join the campaign for restructuring. The more you decentralize power, the better for each region. You cannot be somebody has been kidnapped in Sokoto, you are waiting for Abuja to give directives.
Federal government.
Somebody has been kidnapped in Maiduguri, you are waiting for President Tinubu to come and resolve the problem for you. So they must minimize this idea of seeing power for its own sake, rather than realizing that the better we deal with the fundamental problems, the better all of us will be in safer hands. If you don't restructure the country and decentralize power, there is no way you can effectively deal with the problem of corruption.
All right. Thank you.
Insecurity.
Security. Bikio, any last word on this before we move on quickly?
I think that war is by nature expensive. And I've always demanded for a kind of military campaign that will be simultaneously conducted across these contiguous states, because all of those states link one another. that is our best chance, because we know the hideouts of these bandits. Sometimes I wonder why we are not going there. I've even on this program volunteered the basis of some of them, because in 2019 I went to Katsina to do a documentary where I interviewed some of the bandits, and I know the camp of a particular one. Yeah, he was recently killed by rival bandits. That is the one, that's Sani Dangote, was recently killed by rival bandits. Before then, he was continually killing people in that area, that Jibia local government area, and we didn't take him out until he offended the fellow bandit, and that one led his own fighters to ambush him.
Took him out.
If he had not done that, the guy, and in one day he killed 18 soldiers. Yes, including a captain. In one day, that same Dangote. So I think we should be more decisive, we should be more determined to deal with this, the problem that these guys constitute, because they're even finding out now, trying to push further down. They want to, their sphere of influence, they are trying to expand it to include not just the North Central, but the Southwest. That is what they are trying to do now. But if we move quickly, we can stop them in their tracks and keep our people safe, because that is the responsibility of government. And when we are talking about government, it is not federal government alone. Everything does not begin and end with the federal government. Other governments at all levels must play their part.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Let's talk judicial matters. New brooms, they say, sweep cleaner. Such as the quest of the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, CGN, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, who has been tasked with the responsibility of defending independence of the judiciary. Justice Kekereekun has indicated adopting a collaborative approach to ensure that the apex court continues to play a critical role in the evolution of the country's constitutional democracy and shape public policies that impact all segments of Nigeria.